there was one type of attraction that was actually invented in Florida and eventually spread to other areas, and that was the marine aquarium. It all began at Marineland, of course, which was south of St. Augustine.
When Marineland opened its doors in 1938, it was more than a tourist attraction.
This park was founded by Cornelius Vanderbilt Whitney, Ilya Tolstoy, and Douglas Burden. They were three visionaries of their time. They were very much involved in motion pictures, and that's why the park was dreamed up. They wanted to put together a lot of undersea life in a natural habitat setting.
In the days before Jacques Cousteau and scuba, there were limited opportunities to see aquatic life and even fewer opportunities to film it. So the founders of Marineland invented the world's first oceanarium. For the first time, people could see aquatic life as it exists in the ocean.
I think a lot of the big deal had to do with the engineering feat that they pulled off here. I mean, nobody had ever done this before, and they've got a system now that pulls water out of the ocean, and it supplies this entire park with 6 million gallons of water a day. That in itself was a feat. It was a tourist attraction right from the very start. First day, there was 30,000 people here to see what was going on at Marineland.
The end of World War II marked a new day for America. The nation had money, and it also had time. And Florida was just the place to spend both.
The 50s and the 60s and the early 70s were really boom times for Florida. There was no other competition to speak of in those days, and Miami was the place to be. In the 50s, we had a chimpanzee show where we dressed up the chimpanzees in people's clothes, human clothes, and they performed on the stage.
Joe Dumond's son, Frank, took over Monkey Jungle in 1955. Frank Dumond developed new ways to display animals and their habitats.
My father spent 5 years in South America in a place called Iquitos, Peru, and he studied the plants and the animals that lived in the rainforest, came back here with many of the seeds, planted them, and literally made his own Amazonian rainforest complete with the same types of plants and the animals.
When I was 19, I was studying to be an insurance underwriter when I met Larry. And he introduced me to the most wonderful world of animals and a way of life that could not be duplicated in any other way. Larry taught me not only how to handle animals, how to train animals. He was a wonderful showman in the fact that that was his talent to take the message of the animal world to the public.
Larry Tetzlaff was a noted animal expert and trainer who became famous as Jungle Larry. Every summer, Jungle Larry and his wife Nancy, also known as Safari Jane, thrilled audiences at their zoo in Cedar Point, Ohio. The couple came to Florida in search of a winter home for their beloved animals. They found it at the Caribbean Gardens.
Around here, we called him the Pied Piper. Once in a while, he would take a group of people out on the trail. They would ask him questions. Now, the trail in the Caribbean Gardens is 8/10 of a mile. Now, you could walk it in, what, 15, 20 minutes? But if you were, studying the animals and all the plants, a good hour at least, it could be 3 hours, and Larry would still not be back with this group of people. And we would go out, and they were just enchanted with him.
I guess I almost took it for granted that my dad in certain areas was a household word, in the Midwest, and oh, people come up, I know your dad, and all these types of things, that you get from being the child of a, local celebrity. My dad, I think, was almost ahead of his time in the way space requirements for animals. This is the animal, this is how you have to house it. Back in '69, my dad was building these huge fenced yards for animals when your huge multi-million-dollar metropolitan zoos were still keeping lions in a 10-by-10 barred cage, which we never did.
In 1969, the animal shows presented at the Caribbean Gardens were much different than they are today. The shows were never of the Clyde Beatty style, like with a chair whip or gun. We never trained in that manner. But the animals did behaviors. They did jumps and sit-ups and the fire hoop, and the chimps came out and rode bicycles, and basically they were imitating humans. We have always felt that the animals belong to God, and He's just allowing us to take care of them. We don't really own them. We take care of them. Yeah, a piece of paper says you purchased this animal, or this animal was bred here, but it's just the privilege of working with them. And believe me, they teach you. You don't teach them.
We bought this location with all the animals, the zoo. It was just Ross Island's alligator show, wild animals.
In 1965, a small roadside zoo fell into the hands of a Florida attractions veteran, artist and designer Val Valentine.
It made a little money, but I was faced with the winter and keeping all these animals alive and not that much money in the bank.
Val needed a hook that would pull people off the road. In a moment of inspiration, he had his answer: build a volcano.
I knew that we had to do something to bring people in. You have to have a package. You have to have something that appeals to people and make them buy your product. And that's what it did. I mean, people see that volcano. We had a firebox up on the top, and we had fire and smoke and artificial lava effect on the side of it. And it attracted a lot of attention. And we had this huge waterfall and a swinging bridge. And there's the waterfall, and they come up the pathway and go in behind the waterfall and down into to the center of the earth, journey to the center of the earth, the bowels of the earth. Now here, I built this barrel, and it had big knot holes in it, and we had half a dozen squirrel monkeys inside. And the side said, Jungle Land, more fun than a barrel of monkeys. Here is our star of the zoo, old Coochie. He was an 18-foot alligator. He was blind, so we'd have to tap on those. He'd open his mouth and we'd shovel in some Colonel Sanders unfried chicken necks, get him by the barrel full. And that's what he lived on.
Goofy Golf was the pioneer in the form of miniature golf courses that had the huge, oversized, colorful statuary and scenery. In the early days, when miniature golf was first invented in the late 20s, the emphasis was on the miniature part of the name. But from all indications, it was Lee Coplin, the genius of concrete sculpture, who came up with the idea of having these enormous figures and enormous obstacles that would tower over the players.
Lee Coplin opened Goofy Golf in Panama City Beach in 1958. His son Randy grew up under the shadows of these goofy creatures.
He used to have these nightmares that he'd wake up sweating and see all these creatures, and some of these creatures on the place here are ones that came out of those bad dreams. He tamed his bad dreams and created something that we could all enjoy. My dad would take me outside just before bedtime, and all the colored lights would be shining on the golf course, and it would be beautiful, and he would have me say goodnight to everything. Goodnight fish, goodnight Tyrannosaurus, goodnight Brontosaurus, goodnight snake, and then I'd go to bed and listen to the frogs sing while I slept. My dad was ready for another project, and so he decided to build a ghost town.
There was a Spanish mission with the old padre as the pastor of it, of course. There was a general store. There was a jail where the bad guys would break out several times a day, and the marshal would have to gun them down in the street. There was a trading post where they sold authentic Indian souvenirs from Cherokee, North Carolina, made in Taiwan. Well, this is a storage building now, but as you might be able to tell, this was the old Spanish mission of Tombstone Territory. Lee Coplin, as is well known, insisted on perfection, and you see these murals that are surviving on the wall, even in the condition the building is in today. They are beautiful enough to have been part of a real church. When people came on vacation here, they might have been surprised if they didn't pass a collection plate.
Pioneer days, that's what I consider I was here in the pioneer days, when it really boomed. When I originally started, I started on the grounds crew and worked my way up to the head diver, then dolphin trainer.
Watch this triple jump.
Marineland put on the world's first trained dolphin show in 1951.
Most extraordinary of all, they can perform in perfect unison. 3 aces, the marvels of Marineland.
We had nothing but wild dolphins, and we'd tame them and train them. There was not scientists coming around telling you this and that about dolphins. You know, it was hands-on. You learned as you were here.
One of the things they learned was how smart and talented these creatures are.
Nellie was born here in 1953. She's a really great dolphin. She's probably one dolphin who has introduced more people to the intelligence of these animals than any other dolphin in the world. She used to be the star of the stadium for many, many years. She did football, basketball, baseball. She did all kinds of other little routines that we put together, lots of high jumps. In fact, she was our high jumper. We used to put a prop on a pole way up high. She'd jump up, retrieve the prop, come back down for us. And she's coming back to see us right now. It's almost like she knew you were talking about her.
Right after the Second World War was over, Winston Churchill showed up here for a week to do some paintings, and the newspaper